Remind me to buy my donors from the auto show instead of the farm in the future.
Is that the end of the towel?
No, that is not the end of
gunk.
That is just mud.
Yuck.
This is why we're doing this. The footage. That's the part I hate about watching every off-road show out there. Is they just skip all the tedious stuff.
April here. Don't worry, I'm fluent in reading Kenneth's mind. He's thinking, I should tell them that this is the continuation of the cleanup and teardown of the Dana 60. And hopefully, we'll be able to get some of the build of it today too.
Axle came out of an old farm truck. So it's got a lot of dirt. Just kind of taking a few minutes here to try to clean before we start rebuilding, just because I prefer not to have all of this getting into everything we're doing as we do it, and honestly prefer not to have it in the axle collecting water, rust, crud. Already pushed it a few times. Just using my seal driver with a puck that gets me close to the size of the tube, creating kind of a wad of shop towels, push through and try to push as much of the dirt out of the housing as I possibly can. 3 or 4 passes with a wad of towels and then change out the towel for a different one. I think we're getting close-ish on this side.
Ish.
Just ground everything in this case brake clean, or whatever cleaning fluid makes sense. And then trying to push the crud to the outside rather than to the inside. Almost, but not quite. Still a lot of mud.
Yeah.
It's looking a whole lot better though.
Not perfect, but better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that washes a little bit of the dirt into the center of the differential, but that's the last one that we cleaned.
Yeah, clean this first, then clean the center.
Right.
Because you know.
Well, we got to clean the center anyway.
Right, but you know if you're doing this, you're gonna.
Well, and let's see that paper towel. Okay, so it's still a little dirty.
Yeah.
But not nearly as bad. I mean, it was coming out covered in dirt. I think that paper towel might be done.
Huh?
That paper towel might be done.
Yeah, I think that was done.
I don't know. I'd call that pretty close to good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. There's a little bit of rust in the center of the tube. Yeah.
As much as I'd like to, I can't just push the rust out.
Right.
And that's what happens when you get water and dirt together in a place that nothing to ever wash it out or drain it out. Is eventually the dirt holds the water, and the water sits there and reacts with the steel, and you get rust.
Yep. Ooh. It's not, yeah, it's packed. Yuck.
And that's the stuff you don't want in your differential.
Right.
This is why people sell axle tube seals for your front axle that sit out here, is to stop this.
Yeah, and I have a set on my Wrangler.
Yeah. And if you drive in places that you have mud and sand and dirt, they can be a really good idea.
Yeah. Hardly any gunk, mostly liquid. Yeah. I think the only gunk coming out now is bits of paper towel.
Okay. We will call that good for the tubes. I just have to finish the mess in the middle.
Yeah.
At this point, kind of mop up the liquid from the that has passed through. Everything that got washed into the housing as we were working through this. This will take a couple of iterations of cleaning and mopping it away.
When you're doing this at home, make sure you get into the cavity where the oil flows. Just make sure everything's fully washed out. And have we talked about this air clean thing, the Sure Shot?
So, I don't know that we've really talked about it. Jordan White turned me on to that a while back.
Yeah.
And he did a tour of duty in a off-road shop and came in to help us do something or other. And he was like, hey, why aren't you guys using a Sure Shot? And we looked at him and said, a what? And so that's exactly what it is. It's called a Sure Shot. It's a steel vessel with a air fitting at the top of it. Fill it full of your favorite bulk chemical, water, soapy water, brake clean, Coca-Cola, whatever works for you, and then you fill it up with your air compressor, and you've now got a compressed, air-driven distributor.
Yeah.
Brake clean is a lot cheaper in the gallon jug than it is by the 12-ounce can, and probably more environmentally friendly because it is just compressed air.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't waste a bunch of, half a cans of material because you shut all the propellant out of it. Remind me to buy my donors from the auto show instead of the farm in the future.
I think they might charge a little more than the farm guys.
The auto show auction instead of the farm auction.
Yeah, because didn't you get a pretty good deal on the whole truck?
I paid about $3,000 for the complete first gen 12 valve.
So you got a transmission, transfer case, axle.
Front axle, rear axle, it was a whole truck.
Yeah, whole truck.
ECU, wiring harness.
And I think we're not going to use the rear axle. We're going to use that Dana 80 that came out of something else.
Yeah, in the end, I ended up deciding not to use the transmission because the truck was an auto.
Oh, yeah.
Ended up not using the transfer case because the truck was an auto.
Yeah.
And opted not to use the rear axle because it was cheaper to buy a Dana 80 than it was to do a disc brake conversion on the Dana 70. So, but all of those pieces were able to be sold and paid for their equivalents. So I've got the manual transmission from the same model year truck. I've got the transfer case that matches the manual transmission from the same model year truck. And the Dana 80 that we already built from the newer truck, but that was paid for by selling the Dana 70 from this one. So it all worked out. And the net is that my donor truck still cost me about $3,000.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're getting pretty close to having most of the gunk cleaned up.
Yeah. You. That's that passageway for the rear bearing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're talking about is trying to clean out this passage. It starts here and ends here. And I can actually see, the camera may or may not be able to show it from the angle, there is dirt just sitting right here inside the passage. Starting to see stuff come out the bottom.
Is that the end of the towel?
No, that is not the end of
just gunk.
That is just mud.
Yuck.
This is why we're doing this. Glad I saw this before we called it good.
Yeah.
That's a pass-through, which is better than we had a minute ago, because a minute ago all we had was a big wad of dirt in that pass. And if we hadn't cleaned that out, if we don't clean that out, you end up with no lubrication to the bearing.
Yeah.
And eventually bearing failure.
Which is something we noticed when we were taking this axle apart. The bearings were pretty well shot. Yeah, lots of goo, lots of gunk.
This is why we clean.
Clean, clean, clean.
Clean, yeah.
Because you want your bearings to last more than a few thousand miles.
The footage, 'cause that's the part I hate about watching every off-road show out there, is they just skip all the tedious stuff.
Well, admittedly, putting bolts in a ring gear is pretty tedious and pretty obvious. It's a bolt, it goes in the hole. There's 12 of them.
Put them in, tighten them up, put the appropriate
Put Loctite on them.
Loctite.
Loctite them. I actually had a shop that did not Loctite some of my ring gear bolts, and they came loose and it ruined the differential.
Made a big flicking mess.
Big mess.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So, first step that I want to do is I want to draw the ring gear and case together.
Yep.
And you don't use power tools for this because you don't want to jam things in there. And
we've got the setup again in our nice big vise with the soft jaws so that we're not gouging the case.
And again, I'm just going around a little bit at a time. Nice thing about having 12 bolts is you can do 4 or 3, and it's a nice even pattern. A little bit at a time, because if it gets tilted, it gets jammed and doesn't seat properly, and then you have all kinds of problems. And you know you're seated when it suddenly gets
Really tight.
really tight, like that. Now, are we going to step up
So it's
torque? It's 110 is the final torque.
So I would suggest, personally, I would do like 60, 80, 110.
Okay. Alright, so now I'm gonna do 5. Okay. So 70, 80. Okay. Start on the same one. And yeah, that first one, make sure everything's nice and evenly seated.
Right.
Yep. Okay.
And final of 110.
100. Okay. What do you got?
Oh, more of the. So this is a used ARB locker that we're putting in here, and as I continue to look at it, just more evidence that at some point this differential grenaded.
Yeah, and yeah, in theory the guts are okay.
Yeah, I mean the way it was set up, it looked like it was in good shape, and the guy that sold it to me did say it had been fixed and corrected and run successfully after the event. But yeah, the evidence that something very bad happened at some point. Okay, let's move that across.
Okay. Yeah, we're reaching the point where we're spinning it in the vise, and to help correct that, you
Reduce the
go
lever
across. Okay.
That's the last one.
Was that the first one?
That was the first one. So yeah.
Yeah, we've checked.
So we've now checked all of them. None of them moved. So we're in good shape.
Yeah.
All right. Now we get to deal with pressing on bearings.
Wait.
Put the bearings and whatnot on the pinion. It starts off with a slinger and more of the remove the anti-rust, corrosion protection, everything from everything before we put it together. Just don't want those oils and stuff in the middle of what's going on. Okay.
And then I do the inside race of the bearing. And we can fully wash the bearing later.
Right. We want the
Because that corrosion protection actually acts as a little bit of a lubricant while we're testing stuff.
yeah.
Okay.
And just because I've got it in front of me.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't hurt to wash it 3 times when we're done. It does hurt to forget.
Well, this corrosion resistant stuff, I don't know that it would really hurt anything necessarily.
So, this is a front. So we have the oil slinger that we talked about earlier that is necessary to feed oil up into the pinion bearings. So that goes immediately behind the pinion head. And we're going to have the inner pinion bearing. On this one, all of the pinion depth shims are going to be
Behind the race.
behind the race that matches for the pinion bearing. So they'll all go here. So this just needs to be pressed together.
So yeah, we've got our press here, and again, the ball joint service kit to the rescue. This way we're sure that we're pressing on the bearing race by itself and not, ooh, okay, it's a little tight. Okay. And yeah, so we're gonna have to be very careful because that lip doesn't protrude very much, and so you want to be very careful about getting it lined up just right and get it straight.
Okay. We want to run this up a little bit and we'll get the spacer.
Well, I don't know that we need the spacer.
Okay.
I think there's enough travel in this. so that I get better feedback if I start getting resistance, but it's just sliding right in. And again, if you don't have one of these, I mean, they're not ridiculously expensive, but they're still several $100s. There's a lot of shops all over the country that can probably do this for you if you want. One more. Put your hand away. Safety third. There it is. Okay. That's good and tight. Yeah. And yeah, the bearing race still
Spinning free,
Still spinning
and
free.
we never pressed against the bearings. We always pressed against the race.